Welcome to the GAME.minder Report, your weekly source of upcoming gaming news and information, brought to you this week by Uncle Slam. It's the week of February 6th, and the GAME.minder Report starts now. Jimmy P is once again joining us from the road. What is going on, Jimmy P?
Well, it's a very nice sunny day out, but it's cold outside. So you have this weird, like, defrost and temperature setting balance.
Yeah, when you're in your car, the sun is hitting you on the side of your face, and it's like cooking, but your feet are cold.
Well, not only that, but then it's fogging up the windows. So it's like, but because it's cold outside, you can't put the air conditioning on. You got to put the heat on. So it's like you got to crack the window, but keep the air conditioning. I don't know.
It's like what was his name? Lewis Black did a bit about that. He's like, I hate the fall. I'll tell you why I hate the fall. There's a breeze, or it's sunny, so you're warm, but so you're sweating the sun, but then there's a breeze, so you're freezing. It's not weather, it's malaria. All right, and thus concludes the comedy portion of the evening. So OUYA, Jim, has announced some retail partners. They're going to be coming to Amazon.com. They're going to be coming to Best Buy, GameStop, and Target. Also available at Amazon.ca.
Yeah, I mean, that makes pretty much decent sense. My thinking is that Google Android had a pretty good relationship with Amazon. So I'm sure once Amazon jumped on board, that's the others followed suit. Some notables are not there. Walmart's not on there.
True.
Toys R Us is not on there.
This is true. Excuse me.
I don't know if GameFly does hardware.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is there. I mean, obviously, a lot of people were really thinking that the death knell for OUYA was the fact that they weren't going to be like a lot of what I hear about it is OUYA is the console for people who want the OUYA. But if you're not someone who already wants the OUYA, you don't care about the OUYA. But if it's going to actually be sitting there on shelves for $99, sitting next to the PlayStation 4 for $450 or $499 or $699 or $899, whatever it ends up being, and the Xbox for $3 or $499, you got to think that that's going to be at least moderately compelling, especially if they put a big sticker on it that says, play all the games you already play on your phone.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see also if they have playable kiosk demos at these places. Also, it'll be interesting to see if they're actually going to do a television marketing campaign at all.
Yeah, I think that is the big question because, OUYA, it's assumed, has some sort of backing aside from just the Kickstarter. But the Kickstarter basically was to pay for the development and to get it out the door. How are they going to pay? Are they going to spend a couple $1 million to put a bunch of ads on TV? What are they going to do exactly?
They did beat their target line by $1 million, didn't they? I mean, they have extra money.
They have extra money, but the thing about the extra money that they have is that it wasn't like extra money that people just gave them for free. It was extra money they gave them to buy additional units. You know what I mean? Like their additional production run was supposed to be something like 10,000 or 20,000, and they got enough money to make 50 or 60,000. But that doesn't mean that that's just money that they don't have to spend on anything. They got to spend it on delivering those new consoles.
Yeah, but they're not going to be selling OUYAs at cost. So.
Well, that's true, and I don't actually know what the cost is going to be. At retail, it's still going to be $99. I don't know what their cost is, so who knows how much profit is already built into that.
Right, and here's the segue for you. We already know that the PS4 is going to be sold at a loss.
We do know that, but we don't know that for 100% yet, do we?
Well, we may know in February 20th.
We may know on February 20th. Thank you, Jim. That's right. The PlayStation 4, or at least what we assume is going to be called the PlayStation 4, is Sony has called for media to show up at a special event on February 20th. And so they will be revealing their next console to the world.
Where is this special event?
The computer teased the video. Sources close to it.
Is it LA, San Fran, or is it Japones?
Let's see here. Sony is set to reveal its PlayStation Wednesday, February 20th at an event dubbed See the Future. I don't think it actually says. But according to this, the launch is going to be in the US by Christmas, with a Euro rollout following in early 2014. Obviously, something new with the Move will probably be in the works for it. You know, both the Move and the Kinect ended up being sort of add-on after the fact things for this generation, but they're probably going to be pretty central for this next generation. Obviously, we've already heard some rumors about the PlayStation 4 having some sort of like head-mounted something or other. So that could
and
be.
then also they're what's it called? Omnia? What was the thing?
Yeah, the Omni, PlayStation Omni was what they were saying it was going to be called.
Yeah. Well, we can speculate all we want, but we'll all we know is that week we have something to talk about.
Indeed, indeed. So, speaking of speculating about new console developments, another rumor hit this week about the Xbox, the next Xbox, and that was saying that it is going to require an always-on connection as a DRM to keep people from using used games. Thoughts, my friend Jimmy
Horrible.
P? Yeah.
Rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Seriously. Like, first off, way to really make first world problems. Secondly, like, no one lives in a vacuum. I mean, there's power outages. There's like, what happens if there is like an instance where the internet goes down? Like, I love how they're developing in these places where there's electricity and internet 24/7 all the time because they're in this like Microsoft like development bunker. And then they open up the window and they're like, oh yeah, there's the sun.
Yeah, well, my big thing about this, and you know, I went to, was it at a PAX or a GDC? I don't remember. And there was a panel that was basically stuffed with industry people trying to explain why used games were the devil. And nothing that he said made sense if you're not actually like a executive of one of these companies. I mean, it's everything about secondhand games is not new. You know what I mean? Like, people have been buying used records, used albums, used movies, used books for, you know, forever. And it is very well sort of established that the whole first sale doctrine of, you know, once you use a piece of media, you can resell that piece of media. You know, it's actually even been, I believe, enshrined in law because there was a case that applied to software. There was a case involving used copies of Photoshop that a guy was selling the license to below what Adobe would charge for it, and they sued, saying that the end user license agreement said he wasn't allowed to do that, and I believe that they ruled in his favor that you cannot require, like, you know, like, as long as he is no longer using it, he can sell it, and you just have to live with it. And so obviously, because the laws are not sort of trying to keep up with them, they've decided to try and take a technological approach by just making it impossible.
Here's the thing. It's shooting themselves in the foot. A lot of times people, I mean, we can have this argument about cheap music lets people go to concerts that are full price. Buying a game at a cheap price, a used game, because you hear that the new game's coming out. Well, how do you know you want to buy the new game? I got someone hooked on the Mass Effect trilogy. When Mass Effect 2 came out, I was like, you're going to love this. Go buy Mass Effect 1. He found it used. He bought Mass Effect 2 used, and he bought Mass Effect 3 for sale, or at cost.
New.
Or whatever it is. New, thank you. He would have never done that if there wasn't used games.
Well, and the other part that I feel like these people just never seem to remember is that when people trade in these games, they're doing it so they can buy more games. Like, that's
the point.
You know, and that is the thing that never seems to, it always blows my mind. These people don't realize this. Like, if I buy a game for $60 and I play it through, because a lot of games these days are games that I want to play through once and then get rid of them. I'll play it through, return it, get $25 back or something like that. I'm going to take, and especially when you talk about places like GameStop, you can say, they'll be like, all right, you can have $18 in cash or $25 in trade-in value. And I'll roll that back into the next game. And then instead of having to spend $60 on that next game, I'm spending $35. And it's a next game where it's like, okay, I save myself $25. Now I essentially have another $25. So maybe I'll get 2 games this week instead of 1 because I can't, you know, I wouldn't have been able to afford it otherwise. And I don't see why they don't see more games being sold as a good thing.
You know what the ultimate, not deterrent, but treat, if you will, I don't know. I'm driving, sorry.
Yeah.
The ultimate way of getting people to buy new games, lower the price.
Yeah. Well, and that's another piece that you never seem to understand. I never seem to understand why they don't realize these things. I mean, there's plenty of documentation that this works out there in the real world. You know, the humble bundle, name your own price, and it sells like crazy. And most, at least I believe, most of the developers who've participated in that have made money on those deals. You know, and honestly, the model that we're seeing on things like the App Store, the iOS App Store, proves it. You know, the idea of saying there's one product, it costs this price, pay it or you can't play, is a model that's going away. And, you know, the free-to-play model, there's a lot of problems with it. We've complained about Zynga on this show for, you know, the way that it works or whatever. But if you can offer somebody a certain amount of value and they're willing to pay for it, whatever it is that they're willing to pay, if you're willing to take it, you should take it. And I know that a lot of it is because we're arguing the opposite end of the spectrum is what these people are arguing. The game makers are arguing that they want to be charging $100 for a game, and unfortunately the free market just won't let them. And I think that that's what's the problem there, is that they see they're already looking at it thinking to themselves, you know, previous generation we charged $49.99. This generation we charge $59.99. They're already salivating over the idea of being able to charge $69 or $79.99, and they're seeing that they're not going to be able to because people are dying to spend $1.99 on a game for their mobile phone or on their OUYA, for instance. And they're worried about the future of their profits without realizing that if they did some very simple things in terms of how they price their product, they could probably not only maximize their profits because more people would be willing to plunk down money for it, but they would also build up goodwill. They're doing nothing but build up bad will amongst the gaming community right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little study that went out that they were comparing counterfeit jerseys.
Okay.
Like sports jerseys. They're comparing the counterfeit jerseys where you can get this jersey for $30, or you can spend the money at the team store and get it for $250. And 9 times out of 10, you can barely tell the difference.
Yeah.
And Nike actually noticed this, and they started bringing down the price. So
it's one of those things. The free market, you know me. I'm no like dyed-in-the-wool conservative free marketeer, but the free market in a situation like this is tricky, and I'm not trying to say it's not. You know, whenever you're talking about intellectual goods, the concept of the free market starts to lose some of its coherence. You know, the idea of like if you produce something and it costs this much and then you have a margin, then you sell, like that's where the free market really works. This idea of intellectual property and free market is tricky, but when you're actively trying to show so much contempt for the people that you want to buy your products, it makes me feel like they're just too out of touch. And I think, you know, who knows, this year with these smaller consoles, the OUYAs, the Game Sticks, all these other kinds of things swooping in, this might be just the disruption that sort of wakes these people up and shows them it's like, well, you know, you're not going to be able to business as usual is going to go away, either adapt or die, I think.
No, I disagree. This is what's going to happen is the rich are just going to get richer. All this is going to do is pull out the small publisher from taking a chance on an indie developer game. That's all that's going to happen. People are still going to buy Call of Duty. People are still going to buy Halo. So that's what your model is. And people are still going to buy it and play it. And so it's like, fine, as long as I'm still making the billions here, I don't care about the hundreds of thousands that I may work out because people are only going to buy one game a year instead of 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. All right, so moving on from this enlightening conversation, did you get a chance to read the thing about Newell and Abrams and their plans for movie game collaborations?
And I have an opinion for you.
Oh boy, I'm ready. Hit me.
This is the dumbest thing ever.
Wait, you know, let me preface it. Gabe Newell and J.J. Abrams were on stage at DICE Summit, and they were talking about basically talking about the difference in narrative structures between sort of movie making and games, but then they also sort of started spitballing about some ideas about Valve and J.J. Abrams sort of doing some gaming properties movie crossover type collaborations. So, all right, now this is the worst idea ever, says Jimmy P.
Okay, here's the thing. People play video games because they want to enjoy a longer experience than a movie. Whether it's like 40 hours or 60 hours or an MMO that is unlimited hours, that's why you play a video game. People watch the movies because they want a nice, concrete 2.5-hour story that has a beginning, middle, and end that they can enjoy and go on with. Merging the two has never worked. So fine. those the Resident Evil movies that some people kind of like.
I'm glad you brought them up because I was going to bring those up.
That was good.
I like the Resident Evil movies.
Fine.
But I think that they are an interesting model for this particular conversation, and I'll tell you why. Because the Resident Evil movies did what so many other video game to movie translations did not do. They took the things from the game that worked, and then they made it a movie. You know, like the Doom movie where they were like, let's make it sort of take the plot of the game and then have a scene in the middle where there's like, it's almost like you're in a first-person shooter. That was lame, all right? A lot of the other video game sort of crossover type things have been lame for similar reasons because they try to make, they're too slavish to the idea of we need to make this feel like a video game in a movie, you know, like Mortal Kombat. You know, I mean, I love those for the cheese factor, but they're not good films. Whereas I do honestly think that the Resident Evil movies did it right. And I mean, Christ, there's 5 of them at this point. I own the last 2 in 3D, so I can watch them at home, and I think they're fun, enjoyable things, and I still like the Resident Evil games. So I think, I got to tell you, I think a well-done Portal movie would be awesome. You don't agree.
Let me have something that's mine. Like, a video game is Portal. Portal is a video game. I can have a joke and say, you know, the cake is a lie. And if no one played that video game, they won't know. But that guy in the corner knows exactly what I'm talking about. He looks at me and I was like, yeah, we played that video game. Now you're opening up this to the mass. Like, no, leave me alone. It is what it is.
So your argument is basically get off my lawn.
For lack of a better term, not just get off my lawn. It's you know, there are certain things that are supposed to be in the platform that it is, and so let's just enjoy it and not try to milk it for all it's worth. That's all it is. We're not coming up with a brand new wheel. We're just prostituting it.
Okay, I can tell you're off on a rant here, and that's fine. But I gotta say, here's my point. There are things and worlds that we get to explore in games that are fairly unique. And I do agree with you that trying to translate some of those worlds into a strict narrative structure of a movie would be tricky. But I do think it can be done. And here's what I mean by that. The idea of a Portal movie, I think that just as a fun romp where it's the idea of following this character through this thing, you know, as she discovers how the portal gun works, like that could make for some really interesting cinematography of her sort of jumping through different worlds and popping out of the same room in a different place. The story behind it is a good one. I think they could mess it up very easily, but I do think, especially with someone like J.J. Abrams, I think they could come up with something decent. And I would be willing to see it at least once just to see how they can make it work. If they don't, if it's crap, then it's crap. But I think the idea of not letting them try because you don't want someone to tread on your game, I think is a little bit short-sighted.
Well, I'm going to leave it the main point is it's going to ruin the experience. The great thing about Half-Life and Portal is that the main character does not say one word.
Yes, and okay, and I will point Jimmy P. Sing, because one thing that I know a lot of people complain about with Lost, which is obviously one of the things that J.J. Abrams is well known for, is the fact that the first 2 to 3 seasons were amazing television. And then when you got to the end was so bad. It to some people, not everybody thought so, but the end to some people was so bad that it ruined your enjoyment of the earlier seasons. And that could be kind of what you're talking about here. The idea that the game itself is so good that if they made a movie, it would ruin the game experience. I see that you're getting some sun there.
Wicked sun.
I appreciate you trying to stop it. So yes, I think that could happen. And such as
how do you have a movie where your main character does not say a word?
Wally, anyone? Yeah. Yeah. What are you gonna say to that? He says Wally and he says Eva. Wally. All right, anyway. We're running out of time, so we're gonna just dive into what's coming out this week. A couple big ones coming out this week. We got Dead Space 3, which I know is highly anticipated. I played the first one, I never got into the second one, but I hear it's good. And then another one that I'm actually probably going to play. I wasn't going to, but then when I saw it pop up again this week, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I need to try it. And that's Aliens Colonial Marines. I actually,
Sure you are.
no, seriously, I was within a heartbeat of pre-ordering it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I loved the Alien versus Predator games. I loved those games.
Yeah, actually, I know that for a fact. You
Yeah.
did play. That was right. That was the one good thing that you would say about my PC back in the early aughts, was that you were able to play that Predator Alien game.
Yep. And it's coming out for 360, which is my platform of choice currently. So I do think there is a better than average chance that I am going to play this game. I just have to decide tonight if I'm really, truly, completely done with Halo 4. And if I am, then I'll probably move on to Colonial Marines. So, all right. So, Jim, did you, as everybody may or may not have noticed, we did get a number of games into the system this week. And that is good. We finally got that moving. So we got new games. Which of these new games would you like to call out this week, Jim?
There's an expansion pack that is coming out for Dragon something.
Oh, sorry. It's Dragon. I know you're driving. You can't look it up. Where the heck did my thing go? Dragon Dogma Dark Arisen.
Yeah.
Arisen.
So it's a standalone game as the expansion pack. But the great thing about this game for people that are checking out in GameMinder is it really does show that we can put down 3 different dates that you can follow. There's a European date, a different Japanese date, and then a different North American date. So
cool.
That's something cool. Oh, and I got it over.
All right, while you're doing that, I'll talk about my game. I'm going to be following The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Now, The Binding of Isaac was by the guys who did, I think, Super Meat Boy. They were in Indie Game the Movie, but it was a Flash game. And so now he's redoing it, and he's going to release it on some of these other platforms, like, I believe, Xbox and PC and PlayStation 3, I believe, as well. So I never actually played it as a Flash game, but I've heard amazing things about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it on a more mainstream platform.
Awesome.
All right. The GameMinder Report this week was brought to you by Uncle Slam, President on President Boxing for the iPad and the iPhone. Check it out at uncleslam.com. And that's going to do it for the GameMinder Report this week. If you enjoy what we do, why not subscribe by hitting the button that you see at the bottom of your screen right there, if you're watching on YouTube, of course, or just head over to GameMinderReport.com and subscribe from there.
And to view the show notes for this episode, or to follow any of the games mentioned today, don't forget to visit GameMinderReport.com/36.
And don't look at that again. I'm going to finish it. Don't forget to follow GameMinder on Twitter or Facebook, or get the app for your iPhone or Android phone. And finally, don't forget to buy all your games through the website or app. Every game you pre-order or purchase helps support the show and the service. Signing off for the GameMinder Report, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Jimmy P, reminding you,
don't forget to play.